back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So it's been a huge long time since I did a book haul, and I actually had my birthday at the end of September, so I was gifted quite a few things from friends. I got a lot of vouchers that I then spent on books. And I've also just been buying books generally in the month of September and October, and I've acquired quite a few, so this is a fairly big book haul. Before I start on the books, actually, I'll just tell you about the two bookish things I got for my birthday that are not actually books. So the first thing I got is a necklace. It's this one. It's a little tiny book necklace, and on this little charm it has a letter K, which is obviously my first initial, and then the book opens up and you can put a little picture inside if you want to, and then it shuts as well. So very cute. That was from my mum. Thank you, mum. Another thing I got is this amazing necklace. This was from my best friend, Lauren. She got this for me. It is amazing. You guys can see it's a dragon. And I mean, it's not so much bookish, but it's definitely... Oh, it's vanished. There we go. That was magic. Anyway, it's not so much bookish, but it's definitely fantastical, so I thought you guys would appreciate it. I believe this is from an Etsy seller. If I can find the shop, I will link it below because I have their leaflet, so I will link them below if you are interested in this as well, because it is flipping gorgeous. Like, look at the iridescence. It's so pretty. It's just a little plasticky thing, I think, but it's gorgeous. So thank you for this, Lauren. You know me so well. And now, on to the books. The first book I didn't get for my birthday. I actually just bought this one ages ago as a pre-order and forgot that I'd bought it, but that is this one, The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman, which is book one in the La Belle Sauvage series. Probably saying that wrong, but it's set in the same world as the His Dark Materials series, which is also by Philip Pullman. I adore the His Dark Materials series. It is fantastic. I love it so much. It's one of my favourite sort of kids and adult bridging the gap series. So when I heard he had a new book coming out, I was very excited, and this is a pretty chunky book. It arrived in the post today. I must say I'm not a huge fan of the cover. It's okay, but I don't love it. But I am definitely excited to get into the book, and hopefully I will enjoy the book a lot more. And then there was the word dust with a capital D, as if it wasn't ordinary dust, but something special. And if you've read the His Dark Materials trilogy, then you know that dust is definitely something special in this world, and I'm really excited to find out what adventures we will have in this book. I believe it follows a young boy called Malcolm Polstead, and I don't really know too much more about it, but I'm very excited. I think it is actually a prequel to the His Dark Materials trilogy, so that's very exciting. Moving on to a couple of books I bought for myself with the vouchers that I was given from my friends and family. The first one I bought for myself because of Non-Fiction November. That's coming up fairly soon. I love November. For Non-Fiction November, it's like the one event that I really enjoy having a whole month dedicated to. So I picked up some non-fiction, and the first of those is The Morning They Came For Us by JANINE GIOVANNI. This, I believe, is about Syria. I don't know an awful lot about it. I have to admit, my world knowledge, especially when it comes to like politics and economics and stuff, is really quite poor. So I'm always interested in reading more about different countries, and Syria is one that I've not read anything about, but I remember Jen recommending this ages ago and saying that everyone should read it. So I finally picked it up. It talks about in May 2012 when the author went and travelled in Syria. And she was reporting there on both sides of the conflict, and apparently she reports directly by talking to people who are actually living through it, and it sounds like it's going to be a fairly personal, really emotional read. Next up, I have one I bought because it's just absolutely stunning. I mean, it's got black edges, it's got a gorgeous cover, the inside pages are so beautiful. I love them. But also I have already read the first book in this series, so I decided it was about time to get around to picking up the second one. The first one is called Nevernight, and this is the second one, GODSGRAVE by KRISTOFF. I really enjoy KRISTOFF's works. I particularly love the Lotus War series by him, but this is his newest series. I'm not actually sure what the name of it is. Nevernight Chronicle. That's easy enough. This one's signed, which I didn't know when I bought it, but it is. And yeah, this just continues the story of our main character, Mia Corvair. I don't want to say too much about it because obviously it is the second book, but it was a really fun start to a series. I didn't love it as much as I loved his other books, but I think the second one has a lot of potential, and it definitely seems like it's going to be a really fun story because the first one was very easy, very fun, and that's exactly what I love. So looking forward to owning this and having it beautifully displayed on my shelves because it is gorgeous. I don't often buy hardbacks, it just seems like recently I've been picking up a few more. Next up, I have a book that I was gifted from my lovely friend Eleanor, who I will link down below. She also has a YouTube channel. This is The Accusation: Forbidden Stories from Inside North Korea by BANDI, which is a pseudonym, I believe. This is actually written by someone who is still living within North Korea, and they managed to smuggle out their works and actually get it published. So I don't know an awful lot more about it than that, but that was enough to completely convince me that I needed a copy. I'm fascinated and horrified by North Korea at varying degrees. I've read a couple of different non-fiction books about it, and I find it really, really interesting how different the lifestyle is there, and I can't fathom it. It's always fascinating to me in a slightly worrying way. But I'm very intrigued about what these stories will be like, and obviously it's going to be very weird to read from an author's point of view who's grown up in a very different sort of society. I don't know if they're fictional or if they're non-fiction or maybe both. I don't know, maybe you guys know, but I will let you guys know whether it's worth picking up for sure, because I'm very intrigued about this one. The other book that Eleanor so kindly bought for me is this one. It's a sci-fi called Six Wakes by Mur Lafferty. I've had this one on my list for a while as well. I've heard great things about it. I think it's going to be quite a fun, light-hearted sci-fi, which are the type that I really enjoy. A lone ship, a murdered crew, and a clone who must find her own killer before they strike again. In the depths of space, it's pretty normal to wake up in a cloning vat. The streaks of blood, however, not so normal. I believe it involves crime in space on a spaceship. That sounds fun to me. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Leviathan Wakes series and stuff like that, which I really enjoy. So hopefully it'll be in that kind of vein, and it will be an easy read rather than a super hardcore sci-fi, because I find hard SF a bit difficult, but I really enjoy the lighter sort of space opera. Next up, I have two books that I was gifted by a friend of mine. The first one is New York 2140 by Kim Stanley Robinson. I have been meaning to read some Kim Stanley Robinson for a very long time. I've had my eye on this. It sounds really, really good. I know that Kim Stanley Robinson writes very interesting sort of futuristic looks at the world and different disasters and situations that the world goes through. This obviously focuses on New York, and it's apparently when the sea level has risen and every street has become a canal, every skyscraper an island. But we focus in on one particular building, and we focus in on the sort of life that they've managed to build in this building, even though the whole city is flooded. So it sounds very fascinating. It's a big old chunky book, so I need some time to sit down and dedicate to this. The other one that he kindly got for me is one I did actually recently show to you because I plan to read it in the month of October, and that is this one, Change Agent by Daniel SUAREZ. This book I've already read, so I won't go into too much detail here, but it focuses on a guy who is wrongfully changed into another person. His DNA is completely altered with this other person who is a criminal, and he has to go on the hunt for how they did it and why they did it and whether he can go back to being himself. And also he's in hiding because he's got the DNA of a criminal. So it's a pretty interesting concept. I will go into it more in my review, but I have already read this one. Moving on, I have a book that I was sent by the author, and that is this one, PATERNUS by DYRK ASHTON. This sounds pretty interesting, I must admit. It was, I believe, one of the SBFBO finalists last year, I want to say, 2016. I'm not entirely certain which year, but it was definitely in the SBFBO. He's been really active on the Facebook group that I'm part of for SBFBO, and he seems super nice, so he offered to send me his book. I said, yes, please. And it says, not all legends are myth. The gods and monsters, heroes and villains of lore, they're real, and they're coming back to finish a conflict that's been raging since the dawn of time. Sounds pretty epic. I believe Connor might have already done a video talking about this one. If he has, I will put a link to it below. I definitely saw someone talk about it. I think it was him. So yeah, really looking forward to giving this a go. Probably once SBFBO is done though, because I need to focus on those ones, but I will get to this very soon after. Next up, I have a book that I've already read, but my mum bought this one for me in physical copy because she knew how much I loved it, and that is this one, Devil's Night Dawning by Damien Black. I literally just read this for the SBFBO. I have done a full review, so I will link it, and I gave it a 5 stars, so I adored it, and I definitely wanted a copy for my shelf. It looks fantastic, like all the way around. It's just gorgeous. Well published, even though it is self-published. I love it. So I'm really looking forward to putting this on my shelf and also moving on to the second one, which I do own on Kindle, but I haven't got the physical one for that yet, but I will definitely pick it up. So very excited to have this. It is a hefty damn book, but it's published really beautifully. So if you are a fan of self-publishing, then I would hugely recommend this. And if you are a fan of fantasy of any kind, especially dark fantasy, I would definitely recommend this. I loved it, and I have my full review for you to go and find out more. Moving on, I have 2 books that I was very kindly sent by Macmillan. I recently did a video on their channel on Book Break. I will put a link to it down below and in the cards. This was a video talking about where to start with fantasy if you're unsure, and because I did that video, they sent me some books, which was very nice. I didn't expect them, and they just turned up in the post. So they sent me The Gilded Cage by Vic James, which is great because I've not actually got this one. I was sent the second one a while ago, but I didn't have the first. So now I've got them both. I can actually start reading it, which is great. It says, a modern Britain and age-old cruelty. Britain's magically skilled aristocracy compels all commoners to serve them for 10 years, and now it's the Hadleys' turn. Abby Hadley is assigned to England's most ruthless, noble family. The secret she uncovers could win her freedom or break her heart. Definitely sounds like it's going to be good fun. I've met the author of this book and she's lovely, so I'm hoping that I really enjoy this book too. The other one that they sent me is a finished copy of A Skinful of Shadows by Frances Hardinge. I'm super happy to have this because you guys may remember that I just recently read The Lie Tree by her and loved it, and I'm very, very happy to have an actual finished copy of the book. I was sent an ARC, I've not read it yet, but I'm really, really loving this amazing design that they've gone with. It's just so, so beautiful. The jacket illustration is by H, and H is the same person who does Jen Campbell's book, actually. Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night, which I will have a review up for very, very soon because it comes out early November. I just read that one, I loved it. The cover of that is stunning. The cover of this is stunning. H is obviously a great designer. I'll link their website down below if I can find it. I also picked up a couple of other books for Non-Fiction November with some of my vouchers. So the first one I picked up is this one, Sin in the Second City, Madams, Ministers, Playboys and the Battle for America's Soul by Karen Abbott. I believe I saw this on probably Olive's channel. I'll put a link to her down below. She talks about amazing non-fiction recommendations all the time. I think it was her channel. And this says, well, probably I don't even need to tell you what it's about because the sort of strap tagline tells you, but it's all about madams and playboys and courtesans and sin. It sounds pretty interesting. The next one I picked up is one I've had on my wish list for ages. I don't even know how it got on there because it's such a random book, but it's Empires of the Indus, The Story of a River by Alice Albinia. Something about this cover just talk to me. I don't know what it is because it's not even like amazing, it's just I really enjoy watercolour covers and this is just beautiful. And it sounds really like a really small topic. So it says, the Indus rises in Tibet, flows west across India and south through Pakistan. For millennia it's been worshipped as a god, for centuries used as a tool for imperial expansion. Following the river upstream and back in time, Empires of the Indus takes the reader on a voyage through 2,000 miles of geography and more than 5,000 years of history. So it's all about a river, but something about it, something about the quiet charm of it just sounds really fascinating. So I hope it's good. It does have some pictures in here of like different people worshipping the river and stuff, so I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I'm definitely looking forward to Non-Fiction November so I can like crack on with some of these reads because I'm super excited about them. Another one that I picked up recently, another non-fiction one, is Lab Girl, A Story of Trees, Science and Love by Hope JAHREN. Again, I think this might have been an Olive recommendation, I'm not certain. People are like plants, they grow toward the light. I chose science because science gave me what I needed, a home as defined in the most literal sense, a safe place to be. As a female scientist, I am still unusual, but in my heart, I was never anything else. My laboratory is the JAHREN Laboratory, and it always will be, no matter where it's located. It bears my name because it is my home. My laboratory is the place where the lights are always on. So that's a little quote from it. the cover of this is absolutely gorgeous as well. Like, look at these leaves, they're just so beautiful. I'm guessing it's something to do with like leaves and nature as well, so really intrigued about this one and looking forward to reading it sometime soon. Another one that I recently picked up for myself with my voucher is The End of the Day by Claire North. You guys may remember that I've been on a bit of a Claire North kick recently. I read The First 15 Lives of Harry August, and I also read Touch by her, which I've just uploaded a review for. But I'm on a bit of a kick with her. I'm really enjoying her stuff recently, so I picked up her other book, or one of her others. She's got a few others as well. This one says, Charlie meets everyone but only once. Sometimes he's sent as a courtesy, sometimes as a warning. Either way, it will be the most important meeting of your life. What I like about her books is they tell you absolutely nothing on the blurb. So you always go into them kind of not really knowing what you're going to get, and I like that a lot, so I'm looking forward to reading this very soon, hopefully. I also picked up a book that is for my Welcome Book Prize. I won't go into too much detail on this, but it is Circulation by Thomas Wright, William Harvey's revolutionary idea. I talked about this in my TBR, and it's basically all just about the heart and the circulation, so I've not read this one yet. I will be reading it very soon because it will be this month's read. And then the final one I have to tell you about is another one I've already shown in my TBR and I am currently reading, and that is The Core by Peter V. Brett. I adore this series. I've gone on about it many a time on my channel because it is just so good. So if you are interested in my thoughts on the first few books, I will link my reviews. But yeah, really love this series and would highly recommend it because it's a good, fun one. It does have some trigger warnings for things like rape and sexual assault and stuff, so if you're not okay with that, avoid it, but otherwise I would definitely check it out because it's a lot of fun if you like fantasy. Whew. I have had these stacked up for ages. I'm so happy I can finally put them onto my shelf rather than having them in a pile. So thank you so much to everyone who got me birthday stuff. I am so excited to read it all. There's going to be so many great books on my reading horizon. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of them, what you thought, and which ones you think I should read first, because I would love a bit of help deciding. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.